Hello everyone and welcome to Total War Through the Ages. Right off the bat here, we're going to be fighting a battle with the most elite army we have and have had in this entire campaign, and probably will end up being the most elite army we have at all during this campaign. So as you see, we have 6 units of urban cohorts, which I'm going to be setting up as my reserve, so they're going to kind of be forming my second line. And then we have 4 units of Praetorian Guards and 4 units of regular legionaries, which are going to be making up our main front line. Of course, we then have our general and 4 units of legionary cavalry. So like I said, this is the most elite army we've had during the entire campaign. I apologize for the stuttering. It's been a while since I've recorded anything for this, and I do want to apologize for the lack of videos for the past 2 weeks. A lot of crazy stuff happened, and I was unable to get to making these videos, and so yeah, that's just quick little apology there for why there's been such a big delay. So as you see there, I'm going to be sending my urban cohorts, which are kind of like my reserves. I'm going to be sending them to go face off against the army that's starting on the field, while I send my main line of Praetorians and Legionaries against the enemy reinforcements coming in here. So we're going to just kind of do a giant wheel around to kind of try and box them in against the edge of the map, while the urban cohorts then go and cover our flank. Because again, the enemy army that's already on the field is quite a ways away, and they're having to march uphill, so that will also slow them down. So my urban cohorts probably won't, my plan here was that my urban cohorts wouldn't actually have to be engaged, but I just moved them up just so that if the enemy units did engage before I finished off the reinforcements, that my urban cohorts would be there to kind of protect my flank and my rear. So we're sending cavalry. Now, a slight problem here with my cavalry, I probably could have been a lot more aggressive with my cavalry and sent them to go and deal with the enemy artillery. The enemy artillery didn't end up doing a lot in this battle, but I definitely could have done better by sending my cavalry in. Additionally, the main other problem I had was my cavalry. I had cavalry on my left flank, on my far left flank, which I really didn't need because that's the edge of the map, so it kind of doesn't make sense to have them there. There's not enough room for them to maneuver, so again, could have done that better. Would have been better off having them more in my center or just all on my right and center. Now, the enemy general charged in there, but then kind of pulled out. That was kind of odd, but you know, the AI does odd things from time to time. So as you see there, my cavalry on the left flank kind of didn't have enough room, doesn't really have enough room to get a good charge off, so I probably could have just not used them there. I probably would have been better off having them somewhere else. But oh well, kind of those things you see in hindsight. Now, I could have actually done a better envelopment here as well on the right flank. Now I do send my general around, so it works out okay, but overall I could have done a better job at it. I had the infantry units there where I could have sent like three of those infantry units in, and then had 2 of them envelop around the enemy, as you see I only kind of have the 1 envelop around. So again, just another minor thing. Now I have that unit of legionaries. I always like having 1 or 2 units in reserve, at least 1 unit like there, kind of in my center to cover my center so that they can't break through the center and flank me on either my left or right. So that's kind of what those legionaries are for. Cavalry charge kind of got blocked by my own guys, but overall worked out okay. And enemy general is dead, which of course is great, and the reinforcing army begins to rout, particularly in the center and right flank. And then we're going to just pretty much enveloping here and completely cutting apart. Now that's the one thing that the AI seems to be not very good against, is if you can force them to concentrate on the flanks, you can easily break through their center and envelop them. It's actually very easy to do. The AI does not do a good job of like guarding and protecting their center. Now, meanwhile, as you see here, our urban cohorts are getting ready to be engaged, and I did a pretty bad job. I should have paid better attention over here on the right flank. I could have had my 1 unit of legionary cavalry doesn't quite get caught out, but I definitely could have done a better job. They almost get caught out, so I end up just having them charge in to kind of tie that unit up so the urban cohorts can get engaged, but again, should have been paying better attention, not focusing so much on the left flank. And at this point, this is kind of the new center of the lines, where my front line that was Praetorians and Legionaries is meeting up with the kind of my reserves of urban cohorts. That's kind of where they're meeting. So that kind of forms the new center, or really, it's more of the left flank. There really is no center here. It's just 2 clusters of fighting divided a bit. But pretty much enveloped the entire enemy army here, and it doesn't take a whole lot. We have a massive numbers advantage. We have better quality units, as well as a lot more cavalry, and just again, we outnumber them overall, but having a lot more cavalry is also very useful. So we sent some of the cavalry to go deal off the artillery. Their army is pretty much entirely routing at this point. As I said, once you envelop the AI and just you have the numbers advantage and you envelop them, it is over relatively quickly. Though there is actually, I say that, though there is actually, there have been a few instances I've seen, which will be coming up at some point in the series, because I've already recorded it, but there is one or two instances of the AI doing pretty good, even though they're surrounded, but we'll address those later. So as we see, just skipping ahead here, I wanted to, get as decisive a victory as possible, and as you see there, we did quite well. We didn't take a lot of casualties either, so that was also a pretty big plus. And now here we have the AI attacking us at, I believe this is, yes, so this is, we are besieging one of their settlements on Sicily, and the Scipii are attacking us while we are besieging them. So they have a tiny army of reinforcements. It's really not that much, just the 4 units. 2 of them are war pigs, so I'm not really worried at all. But basically what we do here is we have some mercenaries. So these mercenary guys up front are kind of like are skirmishers. And I don't know how good they are, but I pretty much just use them as purely skirmishers. So this battle is interesting because I've never used skirmishers like at all, really. The most I've ever done is like when I had some Hastati, I would kind of throw some Hastati up front as kind of sacrificial lambs, to eat some charges and kind of get a little bit of damage against the enemy. But again, that's as much as I do. I haven't used skirmishers at all in Rome. I barely used them, I should say, in Rome. Again, against the AI, like obviously against real human players, skirmishers would be very valuable, particularly the archers, because archers are very strong. I don't want to say they're overpowered, but they are very strong in Rome. So again, against human players, it would probably be a different story, but against the AI, I've never really seen the need to have skirmishers at all. I mean, I'm sure they would work well, but that, to me, that's kind of just one more thing I have to micromanage and I'd rather just have more infantry, particularly as Rome, especially, obviously, because Rome is kind of like the best sword and board infantry faction. So here again, this is a pretty straightforward battle. I thought it was mainly interesting just due to purely to the fact of me having skirmishers. So as you see, I kind of experiment a little bit with I rush my skirmishers up ahead, kind of have them do a little bit of picking away at the enemy line, but again, since they're not archers either, so since they're not archers, it's kind of archers have really good range, which is one of the reasons why they're really powerful. But yeah, again, overall, a very straightforward battle, like I said, mainly just interesting for the skirmishers. So as you see here, the skirmishers are moving up. I'm trying to get them in range. They weren't quite in range, and I made a mistake here. I should have moved them up a lot sooner. I should have had them move up sooner, because as it stands, like I was kind of contemplating just wait for the enemy to get in range, or should I move up? And I eventually move up, but I kind of waited too long, so the enemy were a lot closer. So I only get like 1 volley off, and then I go ahead and turn on. What's it called? I can't remember what it's called. I think it's skirmisher something or other, but basically it means where the guys just will run away. Skipping forward a tiny bit here, my skirmishers are, as you see, falling back through my army, and pretty much we just get stuck in here with our infantry, as Romans tend to do. That's kind of what Rome's all about. And we have those mercenary hoplites there. They're kind of worthless in this battle. Like, that's one thing I have learned, that if you're playing as like Rome, where you're a very infantry and kind of like melee infantry, sword and shield infantry focused faction, like having hoplites kind of doesn't really help you at all, because they're so much slower than the rest of your infantry, and I've definitely learned that it's really a good idea to be aggressive with Rome. So again, hoplites being slow and stuff kind of doesn't really mesh well with that. But as you saw there, the enemy did a cavalry charge into our center, trying to actually break us. And this was actually one of the exceptions where the AI, despite what I said earlier in this episode with the previous battle, the AI actually here did actually focus on their center a lot more, and I didn't really envelop either of their flanks, and they actually had a very strong center here, and they did a cavalry charge. So they routed the hoplites, which I don't want. Just so everyone is aware, that wasn't the reason why I was talking about how hoplites in this instance suck, though it might be a tiny contributing factor. But yeah, so my hoplites were out. They do rally up, but again, they're so slow, and they're not really needed. Like, even against cavalry, the Roman infantry do fine unless the cavalry are charging in from the flanks, generally speaking. And again, the AI tends to be dumb enough to just do a head-on charge against heavy infantry, and you can just kind of, so long as your guys don't break on the charge, you're usually going to be fine. Most of their general routed, as you saw. Most of their army starts to rout. So this battle really just turns into me chasing after them for the rest of the time. Now they do rally, a decent number of their units do rally later on, because I didn't pursue them as aggressively as I normally would. And that was mainly just due to the fact that they had, as you see there, those few units of reinforcements are coming up, and I did take a decent number of casualties on quite a few of my units. So I was kind of like, I did not want to overextend myself, so I did kind of focus maybe a little too much on these few units that I did, than I needed to, I should say. And right there, you see enemy general charges in to that fight. And you know how I mentioned earlier, earlier I mentioned about the AI actually holding out really well when completely surrounded. Well, this is that battle, in fact. The AI general puts up one hell of a fight here. So as you'll see, I haven't quite completely got them surrounded, but here in a few minutes, I get them, well, we're going to cut to it, but I get them like completely surrounded. I get the enemy general completely surrounded, and it's just the enemy general unit right here. Pretty much entirely surrounded, way outnumbered, by themselves. They didn't break, you know, so I have to say, props to the Scipii, whoever the Scipii general was, props to him. He was a true and brave Roman, though he was still a dirty traitor because he's a Scipii and not a Julii, and Julii are the best. So we did eventually take him down and kill him, but he did actually rout eventually, but I can't really blame him at that point when he's completely surrounded. And then of course he dies. So yeah, that was really interesting, because that actually, I edited it down a lot, but that was actually a surprisingly long amount of time for one unit to be holding out by themselves against ridiculous odds, completely surrounded, all that stuff. So again, just really surprising there. Again, another really solid victory. Here we have a small force that we're sending forward to try and capture more Greek cities, and this is going to lead us to one of the more embarrassing parts of this campaign, particularly because later on in the campaign, I would think that I would be much better. Now, for the most part, actually, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is actually not the super embarrassing part. That comes a bit later. So, here we have capturing, or besieging, I should say, not capturing. Well, we're going to capture it, but not yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. With our really awesome super elite army, we're besieging that place as well. And then we are marching reinforcements onto our ships, dropping them off, because at this point we are in the home stretch of this series. Or I shouldn't say series, because Total War Through the Ages is going to be a really long series. But we're in the home stretch for Rome Total War. We're actually getting very close to completing the victory conditions for the campaign. At this point, we have all the settlements that we need to. I think the only one you actually need is Rome, and then maybe like your starting capital place, I think. But for the most part, we're just down to, we need several more settlements. It's just that we need to get a total of, I believe it's a total of 50 settlements is the required number. So here we capture one, so that's another one on our belt, another notch on our belt. I guess, yeah, so as you see there, I'm only lacking 4 regions. So, no, I'm sorry, not 4 regions. I'm lacking more than that. I'm sorry. Forget that. You'll see up there how many, it says how many regions I need left, how many I can currently control, and how many more I need to complete the victory condition. So you'll see that. I'll probably add in some I'll add it in editing what the actual number was at this point. I do apologize. For some reason, I thought it was 4. I know why I thought it was 4, but anyway. I'm rambling. So as you see, I'm moving a lot of armies up, and at this point, we're pretty much like, we are really doing well at this point. Like, we have a lot of very sizable, very well constructed, for the most part. We do have a few minor things that some of these armies could be a little bit better in composition. Like that one maybe could use 1 or 2 more units of cavalry, and of course it would be better to have more elite infantry. Now that fleet right there, that ship, I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up too well with the commentary here, so I do apologize, but that ship that you saw, I'm sending that because at this point in the campaign I kind of realized, like, I think Ireland is actually a province. Like, I think there's actually a province in Ireland. And so I was like, I'm going to send a ship there to kind of do some scouting to find out if I can see it, or find out if there is one for sure. And sure enough, there is one. I find that out a little bit later. There is, of course, one, which I'm sure you guys are. So see, as you see there, I was like, well, there's a fishing village and a road, so that means there's a province. So my plan here was like, okay, so this is going to be an easy province to take, because it's either going to be controlled by rebels or the Britons, and I don't know which yet, but either way, that'll be an easy victory. So I'm going to build up a kind of an army using my all my reserve units in the back in the northern areas that we have as garrison forces, and recruiting a few new ones, and send it to capture Ireland. Now, as you saw there, we captured another province, so hey, we're making really good progress. Like I said, this is like lightning round of just conquering settlement after settlement. I believe we've actually, so we conquered the settlement at that settlement just then. We're capturing this settlement right now. And we also captured the settlement on Sicily. So that is 3 or maybe actually 4 settlements that we captured in this. I can't remember if we captured another one, but I know for sure we at least captured 3 settlements in this episode. And so yeah, this is we're doing, like I said, we're making really good progress, and we're proceeding very rapidly. So we got this fleet here, which has been this has been a long time coming. Like, we've been building this army up and getting the fleet around for a while now, and truth be told, that's because I forgot about it a couple turns in a row, so I forgot to move it. So it was just sitting out somewhere, and I kept forgetting to move it. So that's why it's taken so long. Now this battle is very interesting. So we're pretty evenly matched. They actually have far better quality units overall than I do. As you saw there, I have 1 unit of Praetorians and 1 unit of urban cohorts, but the rest are legionaries and just these are actually Roman cavalry as well. I don't think these are actually legionary cavalry. I'm trying to check there if they are or not. I'm not sure. Either way, my cavalry was okay, but they had much better quality infantry than I did. So this is going to be kind of a uphill fight, and so yeah. As you see here, pretty standard. At this point, I was very much like in a rhythm, and because a lot of this I recorded in one sitting. I recorded a lot. I actually recorded a lot of gameplay in this one sitting here. Obviously, I've edited down a lot because a lot of it is Mike managing all our massive empire, all the settlements and stuff, and I've cut out pretty much all of that stuff. So, like I said, though, I was very much in a rhythm. I was feeling really good, partly because, like, to me, once I get into a rhythm of, like, okay, I know what I do every battle. Like, each battle pretty much plays out the same. Now, in this one, it did turn out a little bit differently, mainly just because I did a few things a little bit sloppily. But overall, but yeah, so I did a few things sloppily. First of all, like I said, as you see there, I have units unengaged. I should have charged my cavalry in sooner. My 1 unit routes in the center. That's my auxilia, kind of to be expected. I should probably really stop I should use all my auxilia as garrison forces rather than actually putting them in my field armies, because they're just not very good against Romans. They did a lot better against the barbarian factions, but against Romans, they're just really not worth it. They just take up another slot in the army. Now, as you can see there, one of my other units is routing. And my auxilia actually reformed, which I did not notice, which was another big mistake on my part. Well, not a big mistake, but it's a minor mistake. But all those little mistakes will add up. And I start having more of my guys route. And at this point, I was kind of panicking because I'm like, oh crap, I have quite a few units are routing. One of my units just got slaughtered completely. This is not going well. I'm trying to do my cavalry flank charges as best I can, but my 1 unit of cavalry got caught out there by the enemy general. Things were not looking too great. Half or more of my army is running away. I'm trying to use my general as best as I can to try and pull this back. And again, this kind of goes to show you that we actually outnumbered the enemy very slightly, but they had much better quality units. And as you see here, my units that rallied from routing, I should have done a better job, because if I'd actually brought them back into the main fight, I actually potentially could have turned this fight around. But as you might have guessed, we lose. And as you see there, yep, my general dies, and it's like, yep, at this point, yep, just nope, yeah, we lost. It's over. As soon as my general goes down, it's like, yep, that's it. So as you see, pretty bad defeat there, and that's the first battle I've lost in quite a while, in terms of like actually obviously, like, I have lost some I think 1 or 2 fights fairly recently where I was way outnumbered, but that was an even battle and I lost. So that just kind of goes to show that that was totally due to my own overconfidence. I got cocky, so yeah, I definitely should have not. See, the problem was that the enemy had very good quality units, and I didn't. I mean, I had good quality units, but they had more elite units than I did, so that's really kind of what was the determining factor there. As you see there, we sent a small force out to take the to besiege, and we're actually going to try and capture the small. Oh no, I'm sorry. We did capture. We captured the other Sicilian, or the other settlement on Sicily. So that is 4 settlements that we've captured this episode. And wait a moment, and we'll be making that 5 very quickly. Like I said, this was a really fun part to play in the game overall, just because like I really like this part where it's like we're steamrolling through the enemy, we're like, again, we had that one loss there, that one battle that we lost that was a minor setback, but overall we're doing really good, making really good progress here. Now, this battle was another one where I got overconfident. I will go ahead and spoil this. I lose. And that was entirely due to my own overconfidence. So the problem here was that I was like, okay, we've got a unit of urban cohorts, and then we have 4 units of legionaries. They only have 2 units of Praetorians and their general in the city. They have another unit of, I believe it was Praetorians or Urban Cohorts 1. I think it's Praetorians, reinforcing. So we're going to send all our infantry over to basically, well, not all of it. We're going to send most of our infantry over. I left 1 unit of infantry back to kind of protect the catapults as they destroyed the gate. And so, again, like I said, idea was we're going to be sending for most of our army, 4 of them, including the Urban Cohorts, to go and kill the one unit that's coming in as reinforcements. Our general's unit is going to stay back here kind of for safekeeping. We went ahead and put him in Testudo because he was getting shot at for a while. And meanwhile, back over here, as you see, yeah, we're going to be going up and basically just completely wrecking this one unit that poor unit of guys by themselves. And that is, in fact, a unit of Urban... No, I can't read that. Is that Urban or Praetorian? Either way, it's, as you saw there, a really good volley of Pelham there. Just really did a lot of damage and pretty much broke their morale. And then there's 1 guy left. It's actually the general, or captain, I should say, of the reinforcing army. It's just 1 guy by himself, so we use our general's unit to catch him out. And we actually almost miss him, actually, because I was kind of an idiot and didn't slow it down. So I had to slow down there, and then I was like, okay, now attack the unit. And we do get him, though. And as you see there, I'm making a breach in the wall because I didn't want to have to send all my guys in through the gate, because at this point the AI actually did have a unit defending. They did have a unit defending the gate earlier, so I started the process of besieging the wall. Then they pulled that unit back. Then they brought him back up. So this part right here was one where I definitely could have done a better job. I should have chased that unit. I should have chased that unit down, but instead I let them just retreat, no problem. Because I was like, okay, well, we don't need to. It's 2 units of infantry, Praetorians, and 1 unit of cavalry. Oh boy, did I get overconfident here. I made a really dumb mistake. I should have just sent all my units in together as 1. That would have been way better than I kind of split them up to try and surround the enemy. But again, big mistake here. And I was a little bit upset at the end. That's another thing right there, that small move I did. I should have held that unit in place because they kind of didn't get in position in time by the time the enemy units actually reached and started engaging. So right there, also another mistake. I try and send my urban cohorts there. You can't send units in between those trees. But I was very upset here because I had 3 units, 2 legionaries and 1 unit of urban cohorts against 1 unit of the general's bodyguard. And they just plowed through all my guys. I've never had one of my own units of generals do anywhere near that good in a fight. That is, like, to me, I'm just like, no, that's ridiculous. I was very upset there. But again, that was my overconfidence and kind of idiocy, or idiotic, I don't know, idiocy, I guess, on my own part. So again, overconfidence is a killer. That is the takeaway. So, we lost that siege, but good news is we have a sizable army now on this fleet that we are now sending to go recapture our northern African settlement that the Scipii took from us. So we are now landing that army, and they are going to be going and besieging, and hopefully, or not hopefully, we will. We have to. We must. We have no other options. But at this point, we don't have that many settlements left to capture, so I was like, okay, I wasn't really worrying about actually doing a proper campaign against the Brutii. At this point, I was just like, okay, let's just focus and capture as many provinces as possible. So the goals was we're gonna capture the Britain settlement. They were gonna capture back our settlement in North Africa, and we're gonna take the last one on Sicily. But that's all the time we have for this episode. Gotta rush to the ending. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to check back on all the days, and as always, till next time.